We'll let the fans decide too.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to our Monday night live stream. And on our live stream tonight, we've got with us always Thrashpondo Ponds. How you doing, buddy?
Never better, boss. How's it going with you?
It's going good. You know what's very interesting is that StreamYard now has this new service where they allow you to have a co-host, so that you'll be able to kind of pull these conversations up. And we need to do a test run one of these days so that you can be on. So you'll be able to fiddle with all the buttons the way I can fiddle with them. So we need to do that one of these days. And yeah, it's always good to have you with us, and I really appreciate you being here. And now here we have our special guest, and this is a guy whom I've wanted to have. We wanted to have him on the last time, but scheduling just didn't work out. But thank God scheduling worked out this time. I got Derek from Flicks, Snacks, and Knickknacks. How you doing, Derek?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on. I really wanted to try to make it last time. I almost even called in on my phone while I was driving home from Dallas, but I was like, that could get dangerous. So, especially in Dallas. But I'm glad to be here now.
I am glad you're here too. I've been a fan of your channel for a while,
Thank you.
And I was trying to remember exactly how I got hooked up with you. You know, how I got. I can't remember if it was through the Fat Samurai guy.
I think it was. I think I saw you on the Fat Samurai guy, and then I think we both just kind of commented on each other's things at one point, and I don't know exactly. I don't remember when we first contacted though.
Right. I think I reached out to you because I'm always trying to reach out to people to have them on the program.
I do the same thing, so that's why I don't know, because I'm like I could have very easily have done that, so I don't know.
Right. Well, we'll never know. We'll never know. But I want to take a moment here to see who is in the chat. We're going to be talking about cult classic movies. Basically, we did a podcast on cult classic movies a while back, and this is just a follow-up to let you guys kind of, bring up your favorite cult classics, and we'll riff on them, or if you've got questions. So I'm going to let Thrashpondo Ponds read some of these for us, just to see real quickly who's in the chat.
Blackadder. What is a cult classic like The Exorcist?
Oh, this movie got brought up when we did our episode, actually, because it meets all the criteria, but it was a big smash hit, and it still remains maybe too popular.
Yeah, I think that was a word play. He said occult.
Oh, like the occult.
Yeah,
that's
like
true.
Very clever.
Okay.
We'll comment on just a moment here. Let me just say hi to some of these people. Spike Spikerson's in the house. We'll get back to you, Spike. Zuperplex is in the house. We'll get back to you as well. Let's see. That's Spike Spikerson again. Lance Chafin is in the house as well. And who else? Lance Chafin, Zuperplex, Spike Spikerson.
I thought I saw John Collins at the very beginning. Hello, John.
Somebody said hi, John, in the comments.
Yeah, I saw John.
If you're out there, hello,
there
John.
He is.
Hey.
John, hi, peeps.
Hi, peeps.
I don't know where Tracy is. I haven't seen Tracy
Roth
yet.
Myers?
Yeah.
Come on, Tracy.
Yeah, she's got to be there. I love that name, Blackadder. I mean, that was one of my favorite shows, actually, with Rowan Atkinson. Do you guys remember that show?
All the incarnations, yes.
Yeah.
I've always tried to narrow down what my favorite incarnation was. I can't decide if it was the second or the third, but all of them were wonderful period piece comedies.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. We can start with so what happened was as soon as I was done, because we can't make a show go on for ages, but I got flooded in the comments section with a bunch of like, you missed this, you missed that. And like, of course, I know I missed
That's going to happen every time you do one of those videos. Every time. Same thing happens to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, there were so many that we could bring up here. So let's read some of these comments. Go ahead.
Spike Spikerson says, Rosemary's Baby and Omen, but I wouldn't classify The Exorcist as occult. It's a genre by itself known as scary AF. We all know what that means. Especially for Catholics.
especially for Catholics. I don't
No
know if it is
kidding.
for Catholics, but I mean, I think it was.
I think everybody.
It was banned by the papacy when it came out.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
That's interesting. Well, it's supposedly based on a true story.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is-
it has links to a supposed true exorcists, I guess, or
Yeah.
how? Yeah, it's some true event that occurred.
Well, look, I've talked about this before. I don't really normally do horror movies, and I know that's a big genre, especially in the cult classic. And the reason why I don't do horror films, and I kind of shy away from that just a tad, is because I've actually been involved in some of that activity, and it's pretty scary. And so I just I'm like, when I feel it, I'm like, I don't want to, I wouldn't walk across the street to meet another demon. So, and if people could say what they want about me, you know what I mean? People could say I'm crazy or whatever, but I've actually had experiences with the demonic realm. And whenever I watch something that I can kind of feel that presence in that film, I'll go, I don't want part of that. I don't want part of that. Sorry. I just don't. So I try to stay away from it. But I know that when I bring up cult classic, it's going to be a big deal. So go ahead and talk about it if you want to talk about it. We'll allow it just this one time.
It's okay. I'll have some horror suggestions because, like I said last time, I didn't really realize I had a preference until I started looking, and they're all like very similar to each other in terms of tone. My cult classic favorites.
Yeah. That happened with me too. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, me as well. A lot of mine were from the 80s, and let's face facts, the 80s had a very specific flavor to them, particularly the sort of left of center entertainment. And like I say, Repo Man and a lot of the others. In fact, I gotta mention this just before I forget. John Collins was mentioning cult Christmas movies, and I thought that was a good idea. Particularly, we could actually do a whole show on non-conventional Christmas films.
Well,
go ahead.
I have a top 5 of controversial Christmas movies.
Is Night of the Comet on it?
Huh?
Night of the Comet, is that on it?
Night of the Comet. Oh, wow.
Comet.
That's a good
my
one.
opinion, and I will make a case for this. In fact, I did on my content channel. Night of the Comet is a Christmas film.
Well, let's
do
the
title.
I'm sanctioning it right now. We're gonna hold off. Well, let's not hold off. We'll talk about whatever he wants to talk about tonight, but we will have a special episode on non-conventional Christmas movies.
And this is the month.
How's
for
that
it.
sound?
You got
Yeah, well, I would say it is the month. No, I think we're gonna do it in February. All right, let's see some of these comments here.
Superplex. Hello, Lance. Did you enjoy A Christmas Story 2?
So
speaking of Christmas movies,
right? I think that was a they're talking in the chat here. So, but
they're always talking in the chat. That's part of the fun.
But do you? So speaking of Christmas movies and A Christmas Story, do you guys consider that one a cult classic?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people who can't stand that movie. So there are like a lot of people who don't like it enough. Like I love it, but I think there are enough people that don't like it that it can fit into there. And so yeah, I think definitely.
Well,
when I worked at the video store, we actually sold full-size leg lamps around Christmas.
Yes.
In part of our Christmas novelty section.
Right.
That's awesome. We had a store in town shut down a few years ago. They sold things like that, and they had one, and I almost bought it.
Man, if I get that, I'm gonna put that back here, man. If I ever get one of those,
it'd be perfect.
That is gonna go back.
Not a finger.
And then when
he
he gets the turkey that falls on the floor and those dogs eat it, that is just the worst.
We're going out to eat.
So I'm not reading these kind of before they come up. I'm just looking at some of the more longer ones so that you can read them.
Spike Spikerson, doing great, Lance. We're making the first test batch of Christmas cookies for the family.
It's time for testing.
It's time for testing.
The science needs to be perfected.
That's why
Santa only takes premium.
Right. I love Christmas cookies.
How can you not?
Yeah.
Particularly the green ones. Spike Spikerson. The Sam Squanches are migrating this time of year.
Sam Squanches.
I don't get it.
The Sam Squanch.
I
what is that off of?
And I thought I saw Mr. Staten in the comment station. So I think people doing a shout out to Dan Staten.
They said something Sam Squanch. That's off something. I can't remember what it is, but that rings a bell. Sam Squanch.
Sam Squanch.
Let's see.
The more you
I
say it,
can't
the more that
remember.
does ring a bell. But
Which Blackadder is your favorite? I don't know. I don't know.
I like the Elizabethan one. There was something about it all just kind of came together. So that one was probably my favorite. That's where Baldric starts to go from the very cagey, capable guy into the borderline incompetent, which was the crazy Baldrics were the funny Baldrics. So I thought that one was great. Also, the ensemble cast with Lord Melchett and the Queen and Nursey. I just thought the second one was probably my favorite if I had to vote on one.
Well, I've got a question. Have you guys ever seen, somebody just mentioned something in the comments about a gorilla suit, and it got me thinking about one of these movies that I consider a great cult classic example. Have you ever seen Link?
Link.
1986.
Link. I have not seen Link.
Okay. Well, just to say something real quick, it's directed by Richard Franklin. It's got a score by Jerry Goldsmith, who did the score for the Gremlins. It stars Elizabeth Shore from Back to the Future 2 and 3 and Karate Kid. But it's about this woman who becomes a graduate assistant for this crazy professor who is obsessed with the intelligence of chimpanzees. And so he's got these two chimpanzees living with him that are starting to become capable of just about everything humans are. They communicate with this little storyboard thing. And it quickly, about halfway through, this movie is like so incredibly awkward and the tension is so high like throughout this entire movie. And things go south and just slowly but surely. And it turns into a crazy very just atmospheric horror movie.
Oh, really? Wow, that's awesome.
It's very low budget, but everything about it worked.
I'm going to write it down because I want to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I had to bring it up as a recommendation. I know, Nancy, I know you just reminded me you don't like horror as much, so I'm sorry. But
so here's the deal that I have with there are certain subgenres of the like I like psychological thrillers quite a bit.
Right, see, I think you could do this then. There's nothing like supernatural about this movie. It's not anything like that.
And the other thing I do like is I like monster movies. Like I do like
do you like the Universal monster movies as well?
Like what?
Like the Frankenstein and Dracula.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, somewhat. I haven't gotten into them the way, like they're not like part of my thing, but so for instance, Species was one that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Let's see. What's the one that came out? Quiet Place and A Quiet Place 2.
Oh wow, yeah.
Really good.
John Krasinski's movies, yeah, those are great.
Yeah, those were really good. But to get back to Blackadder, there's a whole subgenre of cult classics that we didn't touch upon, and that is cult classic TV shows. TV shows that kind of came out that, didn't make it, but later they have a cult following.
Tales from the Hood.
Tales from the Hood
was a movie. Tales from the Crypt would be a TV show. Tales from the Hood.
Yes, I'm getting two different things mixed up. Yes.
Okay.
Speaking of Link, the impresario, the undertaker that teaches each of the young men the story in Tales from the Hood, that was Clarence Williams III, who played Link on the Mod Squad.
Oh wow! Nice connection.
Nice connection for sure.
It's what I do.
All right. I got one.
Mr. Collins says, well, in response to everyone's question, It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Story were considered, flops when they first came out and only later became cult hits and massively popular. So he raises a good point.
Yeah.
Usually cult films weren't a commercial success when they were initially released. They sort of snowballed later on and became successful later on. So he raises an excellent point there.
Yeah, one of the definitions that I kind of came up with, or at least part of what makes something a cult classic, is this idea that it can't be popular in the conventional sense. So it's not that it couldn't be popular, but it couldn't be if it was popular in the conventional sense, and we really couldn't classify it as cult classic because it didn't have like this underground following or an underground following alone. So Star Wars is a perfect example of something that if it wasn't if it wasn't popular in the conventional sense, it would have been a cult classic. But it was popular in the conventional sense. Everybody loved it. Well, not everybody, but you know what I mean.
It was kind
Tons
of a surprise too.
Yeah, tons of people loved it. I'm going to go down here a little bit further. Oh, we've got one from. Well, look, hey, Tracy is here.
Tracy Ross Myers. Hi, Ian and Robert and Flicks. And hello to you, Tracy. It's always wonderful to see you as well.
Tracy, do me a favor. Please send me your address over on the Patreon page. Okay, so I actually have something for you personally, and I didn't know how to get that message to you. So please send me your address and a link. Oh, look at that!
I forgot I had it right here.
We have a link.
Elizabeth Shue on there. And also who is here is Dan's Daily Blog. And also who is here is, we'll get back to these comments here. I just want to acknowledge is
Golden Rage. Pat, how you doing, man?
And
the Lost Boys.
Also who is here, we'll talk about that in just 1 second. That is an awesome show. Is Terrell Bellinger. Thank you, Terrell, for gracing us with your presence tonight. It is so awesome to see you. Go ahead and read that comment for us.
Terrell Bellinger says, if I recall, The Young Ones, a great British sitcom from the 80s, became quite popular here in the States when it was shown on MTV during the network's glory days. You are more than correct. Every Sunday evening, and I watched it faithfully.
You did?
Yes. And I watched it faithfully. And something very synchronistic, I guess you'd say. As many of you probably know, Rick Mail passed on. He was hurt tragically in a quad bike accident several years ago and recovered, but never fully, and then died, I want to say, about 3 to 5 years ago. And there's a line in the show that he actually penned himself. It was, and the kids will say, Rick is dead. The people's poet is dead. And when Rick Mail died, you'd be astonished how many of his fans used that as his epithet. So, yes.
Oh, really?
The people's poet is dead.
Yeah. Well, there's another one of those television cult classics. So I had a friend who was really into it, and I watched it a couple times, and I did like it, but it just wasn't in regular rotation for me. I do remember it being on MTV, but my friend had known about it before that. All right. I want to hear Flick Snacks riff on this one right here, because I know you've got something to say, buddy.
Oh yeah. Okay. Now, were you on that episode with us? You weren't on that one, were you? With that,
no.
Okay. That fat samurai guy.
No, he was not. No,
Yeah, that was okay. So that was Lost Boys and Fright Night, and I forget what other Near Dark, but yeah, we debated about it. So the Lost Boys is definitely a cult classic. Thank you, by the way, but it's definitely a cult classic because it's one of those movies that has to have kind of a smaller niche, just because of the type of people in the movie, the age of the people in the movie, the topic of the movie. You know, it kind of narrows things down to like this hipster type of crowd for, that time. And it's not a movie that I love. I like it. So it's one that maybe I'm a little confused why it's such a cult classic, but it's undeniably a cult classic. And it's got a very faithful and large crowd now.
Yeah, seriously, very faithful and large.
I know if DJ Neko's watching, she's going to be mad at me because that's like her favorite movie ever.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. She loves it.
Actually, I would need DJ Neko to reach out to me actually too on email. If you can, I would love to have her on an episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Well. I know I can. I've messaged DJ Anubis before, so I can get in contact with them.
Yeah, both of them. I mean both of them. All right. Well, who wants to riff on this one right here?
Hercules with Kevin Sorbo.
What year is that one?
that's going to be like the 60s, isn't it?
Okay.
That actually, I want to say that was still we're still talking 80s.
No, Kevin, I'm sorry. That's the television show Hercules.
Oh, 90s.
Okay,
Yes.
yes, I've seen this. Okay, I didn't know the name. I don't guess, but yeah, I pulled up a picture. I know exactly what this is. Okay.
Yeah, and the counterpart to that was Xena.
That was a spin-off. If I
Oh,
remember
was it?
correctly. Xena the Warrior Princess was a spin-off from it.
Yeah,
And if I remember correctly, this was at a time when pretty much every mythological hero was getting his own TV show. I believe there was a Sinbad TV show and a Tarzan TV show, and most of them never lasted a full season. Xena the Warrior Princess was probably the most successful. Hercules, of course, as well. But it became like a whole movement in the. It was the early 90s, wasn't it? Like 93, 94, 95, around there?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I will. When he said
Hercules.
Hercules, at first I thought about the old TV or the old movies. Is
The
kind
Steve
of what
Reeve movies from the 50s.
Yeah, right.
Sword and
Steve
Sandal,
Reeve.
they called them.
Yeah,
Those are also called classics.
those are all. Yeah, okay. So I got
95. You're correct.
I have to ask you whether or not you think, and here we got another one here. Anybody? We've talked about this plethora of times.
Pat from Golden Age of TV says Dune.
Yeah.
Dune
What do you
has a grandiose following, and it's one of the hugest franchises in sci-fi history. But you can't call it a cult because of the width and plethora of fans. It's just too iconic. I mean, there's 15 books in the series.
Right.
Yeah, but what do you think of the movie itself, though? Do you
Just
think
maybe people that aren't familiar with the book series, that just maybe the old movie.
Do you think the movie is a cult classic, or no? Or would you say no?
I
don't know if there's enough.
I'm still
people
kind of
who-
with Thrash too on this, though.
Are you?
Yeah, I can't qualify it as cult status, I'm afraid, just because it was so well. It's like having a cult Superman movie, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, the franchise is just, there's too big of a scope.
Okay,
What about?
so,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Like
So I was gonna
Shud.
say, so if-
Shud is a cult film. you know?
so if you had the whole, so even if one movie in it kind of might fit the whole cult classic thing, if the whole franchise is not cult classic, then it wouldn't be cult classic. That's an interesting take. That's
That's
my
kinda-
opinion.
I
My
could
opinion.
see. I could see. I don't know. It would take a really specific situation, maybe.
All right, all right. What were you gonna say, Flip?
Oh, I was just gonna say,
Derek?
there's
Can I just call you? Can I call you Derek?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, please. The show Firefly comes to mind.
Oh
It's
man,
a cult classic show. As one
Yes.
that just got no reception, no love, got canceled, and then everyone's like, "Where'd it go? We love it." It's like, what happened?
And
right?
I don't know what went wrong. That show had everything. It was well written. It had a great cast.
Nathan Fillion was great.
I love the premise. It had that whole sort of steampunk feel to it, at least as far as like the outfitting goes.
Mm-hmm.
So it really gave what they're calling now world building. You're really convinced that this is a society.
Yes.
Just by its sense of style. It had Ron Glass in one of his last roles. Love him
Yeah.
to death. And I'm like, and they canceled it. And I'm like, why? What did they not do?
I
Yeah.
think, it was
and then
an
they tried to make a
executive
Hollywood
decision.
movie of it, and
Well, that's how I got into it, was through the movie. I saw the movie first,
Oh.
and I was blown away by it, and then I was just like, I got to go back and watch it. And then
it was not a
blown
bad
away.
movie. Definitely not a bad movie. What, Serenity? Right?
Yes,
It's-
Yes,
yeah.
Serenity.
Yeah. Okay.
After Serenity, they were talking about giving the show a second chance after Serenity, but it was never in the cards. I have a funny feeling, and don't quote me on this, but some of the other stuff I've read, I think Josh Whedon is notoriously difficult to work with, and there may have been some friction between him and the studios and stuff, and there may have been more going on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Got
I'm
it.
sure there usually is.
That's
Yeah.
just my speculation.
Right. I think that that's the case. So let's move further on and look at what the fans want to talk about here. I had something I wanted to say, but I totally, it slipped my mind. But let's hear for this one.
Lynn Chafin, Warehouse 13.
Anybody? I don't even know this one. What is it?
I'm familiar with it, but I wasn't much of a fan, so I can't speak to that. So apparently, it was a cult classic.
Okay.
Because not
all
everyone
right.
knows it.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, do you guys remember? I don't know if you'd remember this Flick Snacks, but or Derek, I should say. You got Flick Snacks right there, like you're saying that.
I should have changed it.
No, it's okay. It's no big deal. But did you ever watch the television show Friday the 13th?
I've seen it. It's been a few years since I've seen it. Now did that run in that was mid 80s or early 90s?
Late 80s.
Late
Okay,
80s.
okay, I
early
knew.
90s.
Okay, yeah, I've owned it at some point and watched it through, but it's been a while, so I've seen it. Yeah, when the Scream television show came out a couple years ago, it reminded me of like the exact same vibes and situation. It's like you're just getting pretty much a longer, more drawn out, less bloody, kind of version of what you already had. But
Right.
it fits well in the series, and I did enjoy it. Because that's one of my favorite series.
Maybe you're thinking of something else, because the television show wasn't the television show called Friday the 13th. Wasn't it about people who owned cursed objects?
They owned a hawk shop, a pawn shop, and they found out the pawn shop had been cursed.
Right.
And a number of cursed items had been sold. So the new owners go on this quest to gather back the cursed items before people get killed, with varying degrees of success. It's sort of an occult.
I'm looking up what I'm talking about. Go ahead, guys.
The television show, one. All right. Well, I think we have to ask. Then Blackadder talks about this one right here, which we did talk about.
Samurai Cop and Samurai Cop 2. Good Lord.
All right, Blackadder. Thank you very much. Oh, Samurai Cop. Yes. Samurai Cop 2, definitely a cult, or Samurai Cop 1, definitely a cult classic. Samurai Cop 2, they tried too hard. I think they just lost the magic on that one, really, kind of is my opinion. It's like they didn't, that falls into one of those, it was so bad, it was good categories. And that only happens when it's genuine. Like when it's like you tried to make a good movie, but it was horrible, or you wanted to be good and it was horrible, and everybody laughed and it became its own thing. With Samurai Cop 2, they realized that they had that and they tried to do that, and it just ruined it.
I agree 100%. The second one, they brought what's the guys from The Room?
Yeah. I forgot his name.
I never remember his name.
Me either. But yeah, they brought him in for it. Tommy Wiseau.
Okay.
Tommy Wiseau.
Oh
yeah.
There was one more film I dug up that Derek, you might like if you haven't already seen it. Are you familiar with the film The City of Lost Souls?
I mean, it has a familiar ring, but I'm going to write it down.
Does that have Kiefer Sutherland in it?
No. It's a really interesting movie. It's about a Brazilian hitman who suffers a nervous breakdown and ends up going to live abroad. He ends up in Japan only to have his Chinese girlfriend being deported, and he goes on a quest to try to keep her from being thrown out of the country, and ends up getting involved in a turf war between a triad and the Yakuza.
Oh, wow. No, I have not seen this.
Hilarity ensues. If you get a chance to check it out. It's sort of an action, dark comedy. Well, that pretty much covers it.
That sounds awesome. I definitely will. For sure. That sounds great.
Terry Myers. Was The Lost Boys based on a real story? God, I hope not. Oh, actually, I think
it was in Canada, right? No.
I don't get it.
I think actually there was some type of teenage vampire cult. They weren't real, like turning into bats vampires, but there were some juvenile delinquents in Southern California who saw themselves as vampires and did all kinds of nasty shenanigans. And maybe, in fact, I believe they mentioned that they was doing another show in the spirit of Halloween where they were talking about Nightmare on Elm Street and how that was loosely based on somewhere in southern Florida. I want to say in the late 70s. This group of young Asian immigrant young males were having these horrible nightmares and ended up dying in their sleep. And their parents thought that they were actually dying as a result of these like night terrors. And that was what Nightmare on Elm Street was loosely based on. And Ian, I'm so sorry to keep bringing up horror movies. I know it's not your bag. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm trying so hard.
No,
But we keep
it's-
gravitating to them. I'm so
I
sorry.
don't want to be a party pooper here. We'll go here.
Golden Rage TV says the Thunderbirds supercar. Thunderbirds are go. Love the Thunderbirds as a kid. I even liked the sort of weird, surreal musical feature film the British made. I want to say in the early 70s.
Huh.
Never saw Supercar, but it looked really good.
Have you seen
I
either
haven't
one of
seen-
those?
I haven't seen the film that you spoke of. They did a musical film, you said?
It was a musical
Of Thunder?
feature, with the marionettes.
Oh my
And it was Thunderbirds
gosh.
are going. They're trying to colonize Mars or something. I saw it when I was
Oh my
packing to go
gosh.
to Vegas at like 4 a.m. one night, and it was a musical. It had a soundtrack and everything, and I could see why Mr. McCormick would like it. Let me tell you, because it was trippy.
That's
What
awesome.
about Battle of the Planets? Do you remember that?
Oh, I loved Battle of the
Oh
Planets.
my goodness, I
Loved Battle of the
love
Planets.
Battle of the
I'm
Planets.
going to write that down.
That's
Battle
a
of the
whole.
Planets,
That's a whole cartoon series.
which was. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say it's got a complicated history.
Huge.
A
It was
huge-
re-edited in the States so that it would look more like Star Wars.
Yeah,
In reality, in the Japanese version, they were fighting terrorists, I believe. They weren't aliens from other planets.
Toy
But they re-
Galaxy. Toy Galaxy has a whole thing on it. Has a whole like speech on it that he does. I remember I was gonna ask you guys. I know I've asked Thrash before, but I didn't know if I asked you, Derek. Do you ever watch that? He's on here on YouTube. He's got a really pretty big channel, but it's hilarious. And it's called, I think it's called Weird Movies with Mark, or it's called Fanboy Flicks. You ever seen that?
Oh, Fanboy Flick sounds familiar. The first one, it's not the first one. You said it's Fanboy Flicks, though?
I think it's Fanboy Flicks.
Okay, it sounds familiar. I don't know if I'm subscribed.
I think that would be right up your alley, brother.
Yeah,
I think
I'm gonna
you
get
would
on there.
Really enjoy that. He goes through a lot. He did Grizzly 2. I didn't even know there was
Nice.
a Grizzly 1, man. But he just
I didn't know there was a
review.
2 for sure.
There was a Grizzly 1, but he did Grizzly 2. He does reviews on like these really obscure movies.
Oh yeah, I just see one right now. He's got called "The Giant Ugly Killer Bird from Outer Space."
Yes, I
So
saw
that's
that one.
that's yeah. You're right. I'm gonna love it.
It is great. It is hilarious too. He's really funny.
Oh, John H.
Hey,
I
John
remember
H. How you
watching
doing?
The Goodies Sunday nights on PBS. Holy cow, so do I.
I don't
I remember
know
the Goodies
that
too.
show at all. They're bringing up. This is what the thing is with cult classics: is there's so many people who have an
Groups.
opinion about it, and
Yeah.
I
The
don't
Goodies
know.
was great. It was these 3 English hipsters, I guess you'd call them. They were sort of like a modern day Three Stooges, and they lived together and had all these like weird adventures, usually trying to have some kind of get rich quick scheme or whatnot.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember the name. Tim was one, Graham was the other, Billy was the third. We just lost Tim to COVID. Rest in peace, Tim. But some of them are still on YouTube. And if you know, there's another YouTuber. His name is Mooch TV. He does retrospects of the Goodies at some detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very cute, sort of like Benny Hill again, if it was done as the Three Stooges.
Benny Hill. I watched that when I was way too young.
Lance Chafin, Bigfoot and Wild Boy.
Well, I know that Danny Staten's going to love that one. I've not seen that one. I don't even think I've seen a single episode of that. You have though, have you?
I have. It was part of the the ABC Super Saturday showcase or something back in the day. I would have been like 9 or 10, so you would have been a toddler.
I would have been. Oh, yeah, you were 9 or 10, so I would have been a
Yeah.
toddler for sure.
And Mr. Derek here would have been negative 15, I think. Because we're talking like 1975.
Oh yeah, right around there. Negative 17, maybe.
Let's
negative-
see.
I see Lance Chafin said Tourist Trap. I just rewatched that last night by coincidence, and that's a good one. But it is again a horror movie.
Oh, is it?
And speaking of post-apocalyptic movies, That movie I just saw it the other night. This is the end, or this is how it ends.
This is with
Seth
James
Rogen.
Franco, Seth
Yes.
Rogen, Jay Bernal.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, that is a great movie. I love it. It got a lot of hate, but I love that movie so much.
Well,
Which one
I
was
saw
it?
it
the
like
movie?
3 times in theaters.
it's called "This Is How It Ends" or "This Is the End."
This is
yeah,
the end.
yeah. I
And-
did see that movie actually. Yeah.
Seth Rogen
Watson.
and his friend whose name eludes me, Jay.
It's Jay Bune. It starts with a B.
He was the guy from Man Seeking Woman.
Yes,
He was on
great show. Great show.
And he comes down for a visit. They go to a party. During the party, the apocalypse happened, and I mean like the real apocalypse with the rapture and all that.
Okay.
And they don't get raptured, so they try to survive fighting off demons and whatnot. But the most surreal thing about the whole movie, the gimmick is they're not playing characters. They are themselves. All the celebrities you see are who they are. James Franco plays James Franco. Seth Rogen is Seth Rogen.
Okay.
Yeah. They're
Watson.
like over exaggerations of themselves too. Like they play themselves. It's hilarious. I thought it was fantastic.
It was a great movie. It's so funny too because when I was like in high school, a friend of mine and I were actually working on just a little fun project, but it was sort of like that movie I'm always talking about, Things to Come. It's a catastrophic event. America collapses and tries to rebuild. And the main group that tries to rebuild it are Hollywood celebrities. And the idea was it would have an all-star cast, but an all-star cast of people playing themselves.
That's awesome.
Well, I thought it was too. He said, no, have them play characters. That makes more sense. And I go, what could make more sense than celebrities trying to rebuild the country? They have all the clout. It would have been like one of those old war flicks where W.C. Fields comes out and inspires the troops, and it's actually W.C. Fields.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something like that. But it never went anywhere. But it's just so funny how 30 years later, someone actually does it.
Do you think there's
funny.
any movies or even television shows right now that are out that you think that aren't doing popular but you think will become cult classics?
Good.
That's
question.
a great. I was just about to say that is a great question.
Did you
question.
see The Art of Self-Defense with Jesse Eisenberg?
I never go to the theaters anymore.
Oh yes, where he's like he's a very timid and he's very scared of other men, so he decides to take up martial arts, right?
Martial arts, right?
Yes,
it is a weird movie. Didn't do well, but it might be one of those. It's a seriously strange show. It's a serious movie.
I thought it was really good. I thought it was, but it is like you said, it's different.
It's a different kind of movie. And it didn't do well, so I think that maybe it, later on that might be one of those things that people look back on and go, yeah, that's a cult classic. I think.
And I see a lot of movies. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna, as there's a lot of people like me these days who just don't go to the theaters. So I think a lot of movies that were probably really good and would have done well, provided there were enough backsides and seats, they could have been mainstream hits. But I think a lot of them will basically become classics through sheer will of their own. Let's say people will be like, no, this movie has to survive because it was so good. So I think this new post-COVID fan base may create some cult classics just out of the nature of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't tell you.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say that's exactly what I was going to say when we tried to talk at the same time. It was just about how there are so many movies in the last couple of years that have come out that don't deserve to be cult classics. They deserve to be just really good movies. But since the crowds have dwindled in certain areas and you're either watching it on this platform or this streaming platform or this streaming platform, you only get small groups that really get to enjoy it. And then as more audiences get to, people are like, oh yeah, this flew under the radar. It's a cult classic, but really it's not. It's becoming just kind of more of an instant classic.
Yeah.
Just as it's hit certain audiences.
Right. Well, one television show that actually did become an instant cult classic, so much so that they tried to revive it, was Arrested Development. Did either of you watch Arrested Development?
I've seen it. I've seen probably half of it. The first half.
Oh my goodness. The first 3 seasons are genius. and it just didn't get the accolades. It got the accolades it deserved, but people just kind of weren't watching it for some reason or another. It just didn't get picked up, and then suddenly a G4 started showing them, doing them in reruns, and boom, next thing you know, I mean, it's just off the shelf, exploding, people buying the DVDs and stuff like that. And then they tried to redo a season 4 and a season 5, which were just in my opinion, just absolutely terrible, betrayed the whole thing. Not even the same. I did not care for the I thought season 5 was a little bit better than season 4, but I hated season 4. I only watched it one time. Did you like season 4, Thrash? Is that what you were going to say?
Well, no, I didn't watch it as faithfully as you. I did watch this show, and I did like it very much.
Oh, no.
I think I was working nights at the time, so I didn't always have a chance to watch it when it was on. You didn't have on demand back then.
Yeah, I didn't watch it when it was on either, though. I didn't watch it when I watched it later when everybody else started rewatching it.
Well, I was watching it when it was actually in first run, cherry picking. But I think it suffered from a dilemma a lot of parodies suffer from, and that is it clearly was supposed to be a spoof on those primetime soap operas like Dallas and Dynasty, but it was more tongue-in-cheek. And some people don't like those. It's like they're too silly to be taken seriously, but too serious to serve as a comedy. So it's almost like the worst of two worlds. I loved it because I liked parodies. One of my favorite comedies of all time is Austin Powers, which is
obviously
the classic comedy, spoof comedy of all time.
Yeah.
007 parody, of course.
Yeah, we might be looking at this one a little bit from a little bit different of an angle because I mean, I see it as the advent of the new comedy. New comedies now are run off of the way they do comedy,
like Modern Family.
Like Modern Family, like
another good one.
Yeah, like they all are, owe their cues to Arrested Development.
Yeah, and not like Parks and Rec and The Office, like those, like just which I don't think maybe the those two probably not cult classics because they're kind of classics already. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Don't misundertake me. That's not. I liked it. I think that's why the first couple of seasons it didn't fare well. I think other people were missing the point. I got the point and liked it. So I don't think I was.
It's that British humor when it first started hitting America.
Well, they don't. I don't know if they see. That's I get that you liked it. I'm not saying that you didn't like it. I'm not taking it that way, but I didn't see it as a parody. That was the thing, is I just saw it as a straight up sitcom, but done in this new kind of way. It is I guess
I see what you're saying too. I see exactly what you're saying too. I see. I've always had it from Thrash's point of view, but now that you're saying that, it's kind of got me thinking maybe it's not. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just since they don't have laugh tracks and stuff. Yeah, it's just they do it a little different. I don't know. Maybe.
Right. Well, it was a brilliant show when it was out, and it did become kind of a cult classic right away, like Firefly did. Let's get to some of these comments here.
Absolutely. They're blowing it up, man.
They are blowing it up.
Spikes and Roger Corman. His entire catalog is cult classic.
Yes. I think somebody asked if Roger Corman was considered that.
Yes.
The Room.
Yep,
yeah.
The Room.
Derek, do you want to say something about that? Is that like an instant cult classic?
It's one. Yeah, it is only. Well, as soon as people saw it, it was an instant cult classic. I think it took years before it really was able to be seen. It didn't have like a good release or anything like that. It was pretty much all made and funded by the man who stars in it, Tommy Wiseau. And it's just one of those movies. It is a cult classic because the following now of people who like it is really big. But in my opinion, I don't know if it would fall into my category of that because it's one of those so bad it's good, but it's like it's bad. And when I say it's bad, I mean it is the worst acted, worst produced, worst written movie I've ever seen, and that's why it's a cult classic. Yeah. So it's hard for me to put the word classic in that movie
because it's just bad.
It's just terrible. Yeah. It's entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I laughed, I smiled, I had a good time, and I've watched it like 3 times. So it doesn't lack entertainment value. It's just the worst movie I've ever seen. It's
People
worse
were
than
watching
Samurai
it.
Cop.
Oh, well, there's one that might be worse than that. It's called Manos, Hands of Fate.
What
Have you
What is it? Manos.
Manos, Hands of
Manos.
Fate?
Okay, Manos.
That is
I
one of
have
the
to.
worst movies ever.
Okay, I've got to check it
There's
out
a
then.
Mystery Science Theater on Manos, Hands of Fate.
Oh,
So-
nice.
And they apologized during it, though, saying, "We don't have enough to work with you. This movie's so bad we can't even make fun of it. It doesn't even work as a parody."
Tommy
so let's
Wiseau.
yeah, Tommy Wiseau, yeah. Wiseau!
Well,
so,
have y'all seen the
who
Stephen
that
King
is.
movie that's kind of flew under the radar? That's a cult classic now, Thinner, from
Yeah.
1996.
with Ron
Okay.
Steiger.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah,
actually-
that's one that comes to my mind just as one that I think is a cult classic. Starting to really in the last year or two, I've noticed a lot of people my age are starting to ask me, "Have you seen this?" I was like, "Yeah, a long time ago."
Right. Right.
But I love that movie so much.
Tell Behringer, how come no one ever mentioned Superboy, aka Adventures of Superboy?
That was you know, superhero movies and television shows were super hard to do in those late 80s, 90s, and even up in the early 2000s, the TV shows. There was did you watch the Wonder Woman TV show that was out? It had like half a season.
Linda Carter?
Yeah,
No.
No.
Okay.
Either in the early 2000s or the late 90s.
Oh no, I did not. Then.
Yeah, it was a little trying. It was not that good. The Flash, remember the television show, The Flash, that came out in the 90s.
Yes, I have seen that one.
It was really, I don't know what it was in the 90s, especially on television shows with superhero movie or superheroes. It was just really difficult. People they just didn't do well. They just really didn't do well. Let's see. We got another person here in the chat. He's saying, Nancy D.
Nancy D. Hello, Nancy D. Hello, Lance. I had a nice day. Thanks for asking.
That was probably one of those questions they were talking with
I
each other.
I was groping for context, but it occurred to me she wasn't talking to me, so she was talking to Lynn. So, but anyway, I'm glad you had a nice day.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a nice day too. Let's see. I'm trying to find some suggestions here.
Cherry pick. Blackadder. How about The Fury with Kirk Douglas and Amy Irving?
I've never seen that movie.
I haven't either. I don't think. I'm gonna look it up. Sometimes pictures help me remember. So.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Blind Fury? Blind Fury was awesome. Love that show. Did you see that, Thrash?
No, not familiar with it, I'm afraid.
Okay, so basically, I think it's got
Rutger Hauer. Yeah, I was about to say that one's got Rutger Hauer in it.
And he loses his sight in a war. Like, I don't know if it was Vietnam or Korean War or something like that, but he loses his sight, and he's like lost in whatever the jungle, and the villagers take him in and they teach him how to use a sword, and then so he's like deadly with the sword, even though he doesn't. And it's kind of like a superhero kind of show, like maybe like who's the blind superhero guy? Daredevil. Kind of like a Daredevil kind of thing. Yeah, I've never seen The Fury.
I have a Rutger Hauer movie right here, actually.
Oh, Dracula in 3D.
Yeah.
You have to
just a little bit of an exploitative film they've done recently, but it's
Soldier
not too
of
bad.
Orange is really good. Soldier of Orange, that was the one he did back in Holland.
Huh.
And it's about Holland's underground movement during World War II. It's excellent. Trathros Myers, I loved The Outer Limits. Who did not?
Yeah, good show.
I even like the Canadian incarnation from like the early 2000s. I thought that was pretty good too.
All right, let's see. Well, I know there's one show that you think. Well, did you guys ever see SLC Punk? Anybody ever see that show? That movie?
Punk.
Is that the one with Matthew Lillard?
That sounds so familiar.
I don't know. He's the guy who played Shaggy.
Yeah, Matthew Lillard. Yeah, that's him. That's him. Yeah, he's got the blue spiky hair.
Yeah.
And his friend at the end, and he's that movie gets me at the end.
Yeah, that's a tough show. That's a tough movie.
I'd say that's a cult classic for sure, though.
Yeah, let's see. I think that reminded me of it.
Trevor Rothmeyer says the old punk in me just loves that movie.
I don't know which movie you were.
But that reminds you
SLC
of,
Punk,
yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah.
Maybe it was SLC Punk. Maybe it
That'd be my
was.
guess.
I can't. There's just so many here. There's so many comments here. Let's see.
The anarchist in me gets it.
Oh, yeah.
Spike Spikersons. Strangers with Candy was always a favorite cult show for me, and also the last time Stephen Colbert was funny.
Yeah. I love Strangers with the Candy. I have the movie. I've got the movie on DVD.
He was funny in that. I won't say anything else.
Yeah. I thought the television show was great. One of those things that was ahead of its time too. Very ironic. It was a very ironic show. I can't see anything else. Let me just go. I'm going to go down. Sorry, I'm going to skip a lot of comments here and go down to the very bottom and see if there is any. Now, there's one cult classic movie that I know that you like, that you think, Derek, is an instant cult classic, and that is Upgrade.
Yes, that's what I was hoping you'd say.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Tell us about that.
Okay. Yeah, it's only 3 years old. It came out in 2018.
Yeah, that's true.
It's an Australian film, and it stars their version of Tom Hardy, who, in my opinion, does better than Tom Hardy even could have in this role. It's just a great performance, great story. It's kind of set in the future where this man's a mechanic. He's still kind of stuck in the past. He doesn't like computers. He works on older cars, and his wife drives this car that drives itself. She sits in the back seat, type of situation. And an accident happens, and he is given this computer chip that has to keep him, gives him the ability to walk. And I'll kind of leave it at that in terms of story development. But he ends up going on a typical revenge story mission. But it's like,
I do like revenge
Terminator, but mixed with Chappie. I don't know. There's I don't know. It's such and Venom. It mixed Venom in there. It's like a weird combination of movies, and it works. It was almost perfect for me, man. It was it blew my mind.
Yeah.
I couldn't find many things wrong with it. I tried, even with the lower budget they had. I guess lower budget, millions of dollars still, but it just still, everything about it just seemed flawless.
It's called Upgrade?
Yes, from 2018.
It's seriously one of the better shows.
Is it fancy like that?
It is just like that.
We're fancy like that.
Sorry, was it like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is this a song?
It's a country song. It's on the Applebee's commercials now.
Oh, whoa.
Oh, fancy like Applebee's, or something like that. Get copyright. I better not sing that.
Yeah, I was going to say. If I sing too much, we'll get in trouble.
Yeah, I'll stop.
Go on YouTube afterwards. Superflix, ENC, Phantom Agents, 1960s spy adventure from Japan.
Never heard of it.
Ooh, Phantom Agents. I have not heard of that. That kind of surprises me. Asian films are a little bit more of my forte. I'll write that down, though. I might look it up and recognize it.
There was some great Private Eye and Secret Agent movies from the 60s from Japan. They loved making that type of movie back then.
Got a couple more here.
Oh, sure. Spike Spikerson. Exit 57 was fun as well.
And I don't know if he meant Exit 57 or if he meant Passenger 57, because a couple ones down, Lance Chafin, right?
Passenger
57. Now, I do know Passenger 57, if that is what he means.
Yeah, we were both on a show together, you and me, Derek, on Samurai Show, where we talked about the Wesley Snipes and what's the name of the show?
Blade, the Blade trilogy.
Yeah, Blade, and then Black Panther.
Yes,
and Blade came out the victor by far.
It did, and it also has a trilogy, and it's had longer to resonate, but at the same time, it feels like, Black Panther was doing the same things Blade was for a newer generation, which is, important too. But Blade's already done it and did it better, in my opinion. So, it came out on top.
Me too. Blade was the better show. I mean, it just was better. I don't know how well that Black Panther very cartoonish ending is going to hold up. I don't think it has. So
I think most of those Marvel movies are going to kind of get thrown into the same bin at some point in history.
Yeah. I mean, you did have a very cartoony Spider-Man. The what's the
The
guy's
actual
name?
cartoon.
No, not the cartoon. I didn't mean the cartoon. I meant the live action film. The Tobey Maguire one was very cartoony, but that seemed to be people seem to like it in spite of that. And I just don't think that's going to happen with Black Panther.
Right.
I think I don't think it's going to be endearing for people. People like the Spider-Man, even the very cartoony. You watch that first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and it's very cartoony.
When he swings, but it still looks so beautiful. I
liked it too, but I like Spider-Man, So
yeah, I'm a huge Spidey guy. Yeah, Spider-Man and Batman in for my Marvel than DC. Right. Yeah, it's kind of basic, but those are my guys.
I think we were wrong about this. It says, go ahead, read that for us.
Exit 57 with Colbert and Sedaris. Exit 57. It must have been a TV show with Stephen Colbert and Sedaris, but
I have never heard of that.
I wonder if it's part of like the whole Adult Swim package, because there was a lot of cult comedies on the Comedy Central for a while. That might be what he's in reference to. Tracy Rose Myers, I love the show that Leonard Nimoy hosted, a horror show that I cannot remember the name of it.
Ooh, that's interesting. I don't know. Spock had a horror show.
I remember he did
he did In Search Of.
Oh, what was
which
that?
was sort of like Unexplained Mysteries is only back in the 70s, where each week he did a different. It was sort of like a documentary on various, things like the occult or cryptozoology, that type of thing. But I don't remember an actual horror anthology show that he hosted.
I don't remember that either. But
I'm not seeing much when I'm trying to Google it either.
We still have to say hi to a couple people who have joined us.
Absolutely. While you do that, I'm going to hold this up. Go ahead, though.
Georgia Ears.
Let's see if I can get
Thank
that right.
you,
Says,
Georgia.
Good evening, Lance.
No, I'm not going to be able to get it.
What is that? What's that say?
I can't get it right. Oh,
Tetsuo Iron Man.
Yes. Yes, it is. That's a cult classic in my opinion.
It is.
There was another.
And then number two. So
I think so too.
Yeah.
Georgia Eris, and there was somebody else that I didn't recognize. Well, I recognize Georgia Eris, but they seemed like they had popped on recently. Sorry if I missed you. I totally apologize. I don't want.
There was a short-lived horror anthology show in the Europe. Sorry, go ahead. Jill Carter,
Hey,
Star
Jill.
Trek, possibly the cultiest of all cult sci-fi.
Yeah, is it a cult classic, or I guess it was because it only had 3 seasons and it's supposed to be 5.
Its cult status is what caused the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, so what was originally a non-particularly effective, successful show, barely made 3 seasons, was canceled, but the fans got so behind it, it actually relaunched it as a major franchise, possibly the most successful franchise in American sci-fi. So that's possibly the paragon of sci-fi.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I grew up after it was already out, and I grew up in the frenzy of it being popular with the underground. So I never knew it as that cult. I just always knew it as a popular show. That's just kind of how I didn't know that people. It wasn't until later that I realized that it was underground show. All right.
The anthology is plaguing me too, by the way. There was a short-lived anthology horror series in like 1980, 82. It was called The Dark Room, and that was hosted by James Colburn. I'm wondering if maybe there's a little crossover with the memories. We're going back 40 years. Happens to me all the time. So that might be the horror anthology show she's talking about, not Mr. Nimoy, James Colburn instead. But that's just the spitball.
Well, I don't know. I got to ask, is that a lightsaber in back there
it
behind
is.
you?
I believe.
Let's see.
Oh, I can't remember which company this
I'd have
one
to
was.
see the. I have a whole show where
I've seen it. Yes.
You saw my lightsaber show?
See, I have this one, which was just kind of like a random one I received, and then I have this one, which is like more of my custom, like samurai hilt one.
Oh, that's awesome.
and I like this
That
one a
is an
lot. I don't think
awesome
it's
one.
charged, but yeah, this one is my baby.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm a big Star Wars guy.
Yes, yeah, me
Like
as
shows,
well.
animated series, Clone War, everything. I love it all.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. We've got.
Toll Bellinger says, Freaks and Geeks was awesome. It really helped put the cast and producer Judd Apatow on the map. I don't forgive NBC for canceling it so abruptly.
Right.
Yeah, that was
In the
one of
first
those.
season, right?
Yeah, I think so. Just one season. It was brilliant. It was
I think
really
they got cut
brilliant.
off even.
Did they?
I thought
Did
they
they?
got like cut 2 episodes short or something like that.
Oh, they could have. A lot of stuff like that happened back then. It was, or even happens today.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think TV is almost pretty much dead today. I think pretty much unless you're
You're on
streaming it.
streaming, yeah. They're doing good on those platforms, though. A lot of good shows are starting to get made. I think, at least, it's just you have to pick which streamer you want to go with and hope that they make good shows, or you have to pay another $10 a month to add another one.
Isn't it just amazing that it's one of those things that's like competition is good because it seems to drive prices down, but in this case it isn't, because it's like you can only watch certain shows on certain platforms. If you don't have that platform, you can't watch that
You
show.
can have cable with Discovery Channel, but they have Discovery Plus where you don't you have to be subscribed to that to see all the content.
Yeah,
it just doesn't so
It's
cable's
getting
obsolete.
confusing.
Yeah, cable's getting obsolete. Satellite's getting obsolete, which is unfortunate because, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. At least they're still making. I'm still seeing good shows and good movies. So I'm still,
yeah.
Well, at least good shows. Good movies are harder to come by.
Now you're a tad bit younger than we are, but did you still grow up when you were a kid that you had to be there when it was on, or you missed it?
Now, like in what sense?
Like TV. So like on TV, like
Right.
when I grew up, like if you weren't there in front of the TV
Oh
when it
yes.
was
Oh
on,
yes. Yeah, we
you
did
missed
not
it.
have DVR. We didn't have any of that. No, exactly. Like
Yeah.
when I got home from school, I knew like I wanted to go play outside, but you had to give me an hour because I had to see the last day's rerun of Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
So like things like that. So yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
didn't get to have until I was about. I think when we first got to be able to like rewind and record, I was about 16.
Mm.
So
It's funny because Dave Sundstrom and I were just talking about the infamous Star Wars Christmas special. Speaking of not original
Oh
Christmas,
no!
Yeah.
And Chewbacca's girlfriend,
wife, son,
wife,
father-in-law,
yeah, the whole
and
family.
I was being punished at the time, so my mother would not let me watch it. I couldn't watch TV that night, and I
Lucky
begged
you,
and
actually.
pleaded. And she goes, I will never forget what she said. She goes, "You can watch it the next time it's on."
Oh yeah, I remember this story.
It never aired again. It never aired again.
But you can
no.
finally watch it. You can
And I
finally
won't now,
watch
out
it.
of general principle, because I'm not going to let my mother off the hook that easily. I'm going to torture her for the rest of her days over that.
You can always say, "I still haven't seen that movie."
I do. That's exactly what I do.
It
I'm
is.
a
I did.
spiteful-
I did
spiteful.
watch it when it was on. I did. I was sat in front of the TV and watched it, and of course I was super young when
I bet you loved it.
Probably
Did
3
you
or
enjoy
4.
it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that it was a bad movie. I mean, I just
Right.
knew that Star Wars was the people that I loved, and the original trilogy of Star Wars. My only complaint about it when I was a kid is there wasn't enough Jedi stuff. There wasn't enough Jedi stuff, and that's actually why when Episode 1 came out, I didn't hate it like everybody else hated it. Now I didn't love it. Now I have to understand I didn't love it. It didn't resonate with me, but what I did like about it a lot was there was, you really got to see the Jedi stuff. You really got to see more fighting it was really about the Jedis. And really that's kind of what drew me to it in the first place.
Yeah.
That whole trajectory.
My dad took me to see that one, and I was 8, and so I've always been a prequel fan, just because that's what I grew up on loving.
Right. Yeah. If you were born when the prequels came out, then that's your jam right there.
Yeah, it just is. It works for me, but I also love the originals.
Critical eye.
Well, I will grade you the best scene in episode 1 is when they're fighting it's an unfair battle with 2 Jedi against 1 Sith.
Darth Maul.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The force fields keep coming in between them, and there's one scene where Qui-Gon Jinn is on one side and Darth Maul's on the other, and Qui-Gon Jinn just goes into this deep meditation stance.
And Darth Maul's pacing
like a caged tiger.
Yes.
And you see the dichotomy. The Sith are like these caged animals, and the Jedi are these master warriors who have complete and total control over every fiber in their being. And it paints the picture of what the two warriors are and what their differences are. Just the whole scene. That scene was more important than the actual fight scene.
He should have. Qui-Gon should have won that scene, but if you're going typical, good versus evil. But the thing is, the prequels are all about evil wins. So they show that in the first one, that you got your good guy and he's doing everything he can. You have your bad guy and he's doing what he does, and the bad guy wins. Now, obviously, we know what happens after that, but only because Qui-Gon's energy is able to pass to Obi-Wan is he able to actually defeat Darth Maul. And Darth Maul actually lives if you follow the full true canon. So
yeah, that's true. Well, my favorite Jedi when I was growing up was Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the reason why is because, and even though there wasn't a lot on him, but we didn't know, what the Clone Wars were. We didn't know anything about that.
There was no backstory yet.
Yeah, there wasn't a backstory yet. But I thought, well, if he was one of the only Jedis to survive, and he survived all the Clone Wars, and he must be one bad dude. He must be one. So I was off.
And he was
in my imagination as a kid. I would go in my backyard and fight stormtroopers and all this stuff, and think, man, I bet this is what Obi-Wan Kenobi would have done.
That's awesome.
Right, let's get to some.
I was that way with Anakin.
Yeah, yeah, I could imagine.
Denny Staten. No, we had VCR in '79. I never missed anything. Well, la-dee-da.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, we didn't get a VCR until super, super late.
Sorry that money doesn't grow on trees.
No.
Actually, it's funny. When I was a kid growing up back in 78, 79, 1 or 2 kids in my school had VCRs. The richest kids in the school, they had VCRs back then, but they were around.
My dad was like, we got our first color TV like the same week because they went on sale, or we got our first black and white TV because the sale for color TVs came out. So he was like, they didn't have much money, so he was like, we grew up on, up until he was, not up until about 90, he was having like the turn on the TV and everything like that. So for like 3 channels or whatever, 4 channels and.
It was bad. It was bad news for entertainment back then. The VCR was a revolutionary. We rented ours.
I loved it. That was my childhood too. VHS.
It was
we rented ours until way later.
Blockbuster was the jam.
John H says something.
I think that was. Go ahead. Let's read it. I don't want to.
Given the time period, I was about a year older than the geeks.
Ooh, freaks and geeks. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought he meant me. Terrell Behringer. The reason The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. was canceled was because Fox aired it on the so-called Friday night death slot. It was the lead-in to the X-Files, which debuted around the same time. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are like, no, don't turn the TV on yet. Wait, the X-Files comes on. Yeah.
Spike Spikington said, I could give a list of good movies at Tracy Russ Myers.
Yeah, I think, let's see. I'm trying to look for...
Yeah, I like Briscoe County Jr., actually. It was sort of a modern Wild Wild West. Oh, Jill Carter says, Battlestar Galactica. I'm assuming you mean the original, but we'll accept either one. But the original was my favorite.
Yeah, the original is my favorite too.
I think both solid.
Yeah. We're rewatching the originals on Tubi right now, kind of in between.
Oh, nice. I haven't done that in a couple of years.
Oh, look here. Look who decided to join
Dave
us.
Sunstrom. I feel like Elf.
Duel of the Fates. That's when Darth Maul is fighting Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Duel of the Fates. That is a great score.
Fates, yes.
Oh, yeah. I like that too. And then somebody wrote this, Jill Carter.
The Empire
Maybe their
Strikes Back.
favorite. Yeah, it's probably the best.
It's my favorite. It
Yeah,
certainly
probably
is
the
my
best
favorite.
movie, saw like all around. Well, that, and I'm a really big Rogue One fan too.
Rogue One was actually, as out of all everything that's happened since
Since the
Rogue
prequels
One,
or sequels.
yeah, the sequels. I am not a
Mhm.
fan of the sequels. I'm
No,
sorry. I'm not a fan
I
of
like
any
the
one of
first
them.
one. I thought they were going somewhere, and they
Yeah,
just didn't go anywhere at all. Nowhere,
right. And
nowhere at
then
all.
the whole like almost like Goonies thing that happens with it. It's kind of, I don't know, like where they have the, what's that thing that
That's what,
they can tell where something
oh,
is?
that dagger thing. We're
Yeah,
like,
the
what is
dagger.
this? Or is it Indiana Jones and the lost lightsaber?
Yeah, well, that was like out of the Goonies, wasn't it? Something that
Yes,
has
it
some
was at. Yes, it was
medallion
at the Goonies.
and in the
They like
Goonies.
did a shot, but somebody on YouTube did like a shot by shot of it, and it was like almost identical.
Yeah, I really didn't like it, but Rogue One was good and Solo was excellent. I thought excellent.
I like Solo as well.
John H says, I was dragged to see Star Wars summer when I turned 12. A friend of mine was born when the movie came out 4 days later, so his mom had to wait until after he was born to see it.
Man, that's just somebody that really wants to see a sci-fi film. That's like, you got to get this baby out of me.
And he was dragged there.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's see. I'm trying to see. We got a lot of hi Daves here. We got another from Terrell
What's Dave in the house?
Bellinger.
Terrell Berenger. The original Star Wars trilogy was purely timeless. I don't care for the prequel trilogy. A lot of people don't care for the new trilogy. They have their own opinions.
See, I'm
That's
of the mindset I like the first six,
yeah.
and then like you said, Solo and Rogue One, but not the sequels.
I like 5 of the 6. I won't tell you which one I
Ooh.
don't like. I bet you can figure it out.
You
Phantom
like
Menace or Attack of the Clones?
no.
No.
Phantom Menace.
You didn't like Phantom Menace.
I didn't like Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't love Well, I got to say, okay, so like A New Hope, I love. Empire Strikes Back, I love.
Favorite?
Return of the Jedi, not so much.
Out of old
Out of
oil
the original trilogy,
drums.
it's the weakest.
Yeah, and then the prequels, I like, but I don't love them. Okay, I like them.
Yeah.
Phantom Menace has good points and bad points for me. Attack of the Clones was my favorite, believe it or not, out of the 3. And the one that I really didn't like was I didn't like Revenge of the Sith. I didn't.
Oh
like those
no,
3.
Really?
I love that one. Yeah, but
Well,
I understand there are a lot of elements.
Now listen to this. I got all this stuff on Star Wars. I've talked about. I've talked about Star Wars many times on this. Here's the one thing that kind of turned me off about it. He turns too quickly, and I had one edit that I would have loved to go back in time. Here's my one edit that I would make in Revenge of the Sith. Okay, after he rescues Palpatine. Off the ship at the very beginning of the movie. Okay, right there, the Jedi Council finds out that he's married, and they kick him off the Jedi Council. He wants to run away with Padme, but Padme rejects him because she has too much work to do in the Senate. And Palpatine hires him to be a personal bodyguard. And then starts training him in the Sith. And I think that would have built up enough animosity toward the Jedi.
It just all happened so fast. It's like, man, why are you so like why are you so
he
mad?
goes
Obi-Wan's your bro, dude. Come on.
Yeah, he goes from a Jedi to killing children. You know what I mean? It's just it's
overnight.
Yeah,
it's quick. It's quick.
But if that would have happened, if they would have like added those 2 scenes in and then realized, okay, then I think that there would have been a bigger animosity toward now the Jedi are his enemies. And so when they come to try to stop Palpatine, he's fighting for Palpatine, that's my opinion on it. We'll have to talk about that.
For sure.
Again later. Let's see here.
Denny Staten. I cut grass all summer, saved up and played. Paid $849 for an awesome VCR that could be set to record 3 shows.
Awesome.
Dang, nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I think he's kind of balking back at the whole rich boy kind
Rich
of
kid,
thing.
yeah.
He's saying, "Look,
That was the-
I earned this.
That
On the sweat of my back, I earned this."
Just to say
That
my
was a
last
lot
little
of-
point. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Back in '79, that was a lot of lawns.
Yeah, that was a lot of
$849.
lawns.
That was a lot of lawns. John Cohn says,
right.
Justin, I have a question. Do you do videos about knickknacks?
I'm
think he
wondering
means
if he
Derek.
means me. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, very seldomly, but sometimes when I get like a new figure in, like I did a video about this. This is my Reagan McNeil Exorcist doll.
That is cool squared.
I love this thing, and it's a Living Dead doll. So I got the box over here, and so like I do videos about when I get things like that, and if I order like a subscription box, I'd consider some of the things that come in that, some of the knickknacks. I just got a horror pack today, which it was all movies, but kind of still getting some knickknacks in a box, type of thing. So that's kind of where the name came from. That and it rhymed.
Yeah.
Yep. But
That's
like
collectible too.
yes. Oh no, it's completely plastic. But the last thing I was going to say about the prequels was that when I saw that in theaters, I got home and I used old oil drums and electrical like extension cords and an old car seat, and I made my own little pod racer because I wanted to be a pod racer at that point.
Right on,
Yeah.
man. I bet that
that's
was
cute.
fun.
Yeah.
I bet that was fun.
Dave Sundstrom. Not a fan of the current Star Wars movies, but I love The Mandalorian.
Oh yes. How could we forget the Mandalorian? Great
I think
show.
we're all on page on the same page about that.
Yeah.
And then DF. Oh, I think he just keeps writing this over and over again, so he gets
Yes.
picked up in
I
the
hope I did
comment.
answer the question. And my name is Derek. I'm sorry for any confusion.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see. Well, I think this is we've exhausted. I don't think we've exhausted the topic, but we certainly did exhaust the comments here. Let's read this one right here.
Some great chats, guys. Great chats. Superplex says the secret is that Jedi Council was evil. They wanted to stage a coup.
There are so many theories, man, and I've dug so deep. And just a quick shout out to a channel called Star Wars Theory.
Yes.
He's one of my favorite
Yes.
YouTubers, and he has Theories Arcade, I think is his gaming channel. And the man is the most knowledgeable, but he also breaks down theories and then does like what ifs too, and just does all sorts of great Star Wars videos. He actually has his own line of lightsabers that's coming out here in the next couple months, I believe. They just got like patented hilts. And they're working on soundboards.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. We're going to take this one kind of as the last one, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here.
Oh, that's a
Tyrell
good one.
Derringer.
Cool classic.
The gritty HBO prison drama Oz was quite ahead of its time. It premiered in 1997, 2 years before the debut of The Sopranos, which helped the face of scripted TV and everything as we know it. I only saw the first season, but I will tell you, it was a great show. Very
I have
gritty,
not
very
seen
dark,
it.
but a great
I
show.
haven't seen it, but I know that after it stopped and it came, it kind of ran back in a cycle. Like I know, like a lot of my friends recommended it to me about maybe 4 years ago. I noticed a lot of people were talking about it again. So I would definitely say, and I saw a re-release at Walmart the other day. So I'd definitely say cult classic.
Yeah. I've never seen it before, but I know people were kind of referring to it quite a bit. Kind of like Oz, and there was the Sons of Anarchy, and I mean there were like all these shows that were kind of coming out. This is known as the second golden age of television, was the early 2000s, where you had Lost and you had these shows that were really, I mean, you had to kind of watch the whole season to get the flavor
If you
of
blink,
what was going on.
you miss something.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Lost, by the way.
You have to break
I know-
down every episode.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, do me a favor before you leave this channel, right after you leave this channel, after we get done here, please go to my video page, pick one of my videos and share it on your favorite social media. Let's get the word out about the great content you're receiving here at Retro Serial. And I want to thank my guest, Thrashpondo Pons. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, please go and do so.
Definitely.
And Flick
Come
Stacks
on.
Derek over at Flick Stacks Knickknacks. If you haven't subscribed to his show, please go over and subscribe. He does great reviews with not a lot of spoilers, which is really good. You kind of like
Tough.
you're able. That's a tough deal to do. You're able to do that pretty good, man.
Thank
Like,
you. It's hard. I tiptoe.
Yeah.
Through the tulips.
Right.
Yes.
And then definitely listen, if you guys, and I'm going to recommend another channel here. I've recommended it earlier, but really, if you do like cult classics, go over and check out Fanboy Flicks. I've reached out to Fanboy Flicks a number of times to see if he hasn't gotten back to me ever. So maybe you can reach out to him and say, hey, go check out ENC at Retro Serial. You should be on his program because he does a great show.
It sounds like me with Cody Leach. I've tried like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, man, I want to collab so bad. How do I not be desperate though? Gosh.
Well, send me a link to the YouTube page and I will actually write to him and say, hey, you should.
Oh yeah, I'll do it.
All right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I just want to say a special thank you to my supporters over on Patreon. Dave Sundstrom supports me over on Patreon. Tracy Rothmeyers, who is a Honeycomb Hideout level, and John Collins, who's also a Honeycomb Hideout level. I just want to thank you so much as I'm building up here to get to 1,000 where I can be monetized on YouTube. The only way to really help me out monetarily is over on Patreon. So that's what we got, the Patreon page. So I want to thank you all so much. God bless you all. Really, I love you all. You mean so much to me. And one of the things I like about what happens here is you guys are so active in the chat channel. I mean, it's just amazing how active you guys are. It seems like a really good community. Last thing before we go, Derek, tell me what you're working on next.
Okay, well, I have a review I'm going to start recording a video on, which is my second in my episode of Universal Monster movie playoff series. The first episode was The Invisible Man versus the Wolfman. This one's Frankenstein versus Dracula. And then we have like The Phantom of the Opera versus The Mummy, and Creature of the Black Lagoon versus Brides of Frankenstein. And then we're going to do whoever wins those plays off again until we have a winner. And then I have this Thursday, I'm on with That Fat Samurai Guy doing 2 movies that are both shot in one take. We have Scott Adkins' new movie, One Shot, and the Samurai 400 versus 1, which is about a 2-year-old Japanese flick. And we're going to do those verses on Thursday. And other than that, just a couple other movies. I'm having a hard time breaking out of my horror genre since Halloween, but I do have a romantic comedy I'm reviewing called Love Hard that I watched on Netflix with my wife a couple days ago, and we really wanted to get a review out about that. So my thoughts on that one soon too.
Cool. Thrashpondo, what are you working on?
Well, I'm still doing my horror and sci-fi reviews of film and literature, and I've, of course, been doing my top 10 worst dad jokes in this or any other universe.
I love those.
Thank you. I've been doing some on a theme. The last ones have been Why Did the Chicken Cross the Road? Only either sci-fi or universal horror chickens. But I've been getting some good traction with something I've done recently. Rather than review something from mainstream media, I've been picking out things from YouTube. My first was a post-apocalyptic short film, which I recommended to people, and everyone who jumped on it loved it. Yes. So I might do some more of those. Give some shout-outs to our fellow YouTubers who actually make their own film content. As a film reviewer, what could be more natural to review YouTube films? So I'll probably be doing some more of those.
Well, I have a short film I'm working on right now, so I might have to send it over and give you first access. Yeah. So I'll give you first access maybe and let you review like the day before I release or something. That'd be super cool.
I would be honored.
Well,
that'd be amazing.
We're really excited to see this. Film,
I'm really excited and very nervous. Like I said, it's my first time to attempt something so big where I have like a cast and locations, shooting locations type of thing, and so it's going to be really interesting. But it's the start of something that I believe is the beginning. So hopefully, it only gets better.
Let's hope so. Yes,
got to start somewhere.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. All right, everyone, take care. Have a good evening.